So we don't have quotas. I think you and I talked about that before. That's a myth.
Well, let's debunk that myth.
That's a myth.
A lot of people think that's true.
We don't have quotas.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have my first repeat guest, the new sheriff of Midland County, Scott Holzinger.
Logan, how you doing?
I'm excited to have this conversation on the back end of the election. Now the election is over. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You fulfilled a childhood dream to become the sheriff with the family.
I did.
And now you are making some changes and leading the sheriff's department in the next phase of its evolution. So what's going on?
Crazy. It's been a fast-moving, almost 4 months now. So there's a lot going on. Not reinventing the wheel at the sheriff's office, so to speak, but came in and want to put my fingerprints on some things and make some subtle changes. And so far, so good. We have a lot going on, a lot of positive things going on, moving things in the right direction.
As in a new leadership role in this organization, how do you balance trying to put your own brand on the leadership style and the initiatives, but also not overstepping, not doing too much too quickly? How do you find that balance as a leader?
Well, one of the very first things I did upon taking office is a staff audit, essentially, is sitting down with as many staff members as possible to get feedback. What works, what doesn't work, what changes do you think would make a positive impact on the product that we put out to the public, which we're a customer service-based organization. And so that was one of the very first things I did, learned a lot, took some of the feedback I got and instituted, some not so much, but having been at the office now for almost 22 years, having an inside track and an inside view for a long time has made the transition a little bit easier than I think if somebody would have been elected from the outside coming into the new office and essentially starting from scratch. So our office has great people. We have great leaders, people in leadership roles longer than I've been the sheriff, so leaning on them, asking lots of questions and getting their feedback. So, again, so far so good, I think.
What's one initiative that you're really focused on right now?
So one thing that I identified right away, actually going back to when I was campaigning, is a service that we could provide to victims. And I'm happy to announce that just as of yesterday, we went live with a victim service unit. And what that is going to entail is a group of 6 volunteers that are advocates that will be called out in certain situations when a unexpected death occurs. And coming from the road patrol side of things and then the detective bureau, one thing that was always difficult for me was, when we were dealing with death, you go and you do a notification or you're at someone's house and, making that notification is just a sliver or part of what we have to do with an incident. There's follow-up investigation depending on the circumstances of the incident. And it never felt good to go there, deliver such terrible news, and then just leave. And the Michigan Sheriff's Association started a victim service unit back in 1985, and we have now formed our own through their guidance, essentially. So, again, in certain scenarios, when we feel it's warranted, we will bring a volunteer advocate with us to a house or a scene and help, deliver comfort and information to these people who are, in crisis at that time.
So I didn't realize that, but it's the county sheriff that's responsible for delivering the news of a death out inside of the county if there's whether it be an accident or a murder or whatever. How does that get assigned to your division?
Yeah, if we're investigating it,
okay.
Then yes, the city police, within the city limits, if they have an investigation and a death is involved, they will handle it with their department. Since you bring that up, there's actually been a great deal of collaboration with the city police and forming and getting the right members on this victim service unit team moving forward, because the city police will utilize that service as well when they see fit. So
That's very interesting. I didn't know.
yeah, so that was one of the first things that was on my agenda amongst many others. I'm happy that we have an undersheriff now at our office. That may not seem like a lot to a guy like you, but in terms of how a sheriff's office is structured, it was important to work with the county and the Board of Commissioners to find a way to bring an undersheriff to our office. And I made that appointment a couple weeks ago, and it was somebody from within the office, and he's been in place for a couple weeks, and so far so good with that as well.
That's like a vice president kind of role?
Kind of.
And why didn't that exist before, and what made you think it was important to install?
I don't really know why it didn't exist before. It's actually mandated by law that a sheriff appoint an undersheriff. We had one for a brief period of time back when Jerry Nielsen was the sheriff. And I believe Sheriff McNutt had one for a period of time as well back in the 80s. But we've went a long time without one. And it's important for me in my role as the sheriff because the undersheriff is not aligned to a union. And I think that's important for several different reasons. The other reason being we now have a clearly defined number two in terms of the succession of the office. So, for instance, if I'm unavailable, if I'm out of state, incapacitated, whatever, now we have a clearly defined second in charge, so to speak. So similar to what you said, like a vice president.
Well, before we started talking, you were mentioning all the different services and organizations inside of the sheriff's department that a lot of people don't know about. A lot of people don't realize that the sheriff's department actually encompasses all these different elements to it. Can you share a few of those with the audience and kind of break down or go through some of the other elements of the sheriff's department other than just pulling people over and making arrests, all the things that we're already familiar with?
Yeah, sure. So we don't have quotas. I think you and I talked about that before. That's a myth.
Well, let's debunk that myth.
That's a myth.
A lot of people think that's true.
We don't have quotas. We don't have a set number of tickets that we go out and write. You know, there's a reason for traffic enforcement, for wanting to slow people down, to prevent accidents, things of that sort. So it's not just going out to, you know, fill up a stat sheet or anything like that. There is a defined purpose for proactive traffic enforcement. But so yeah, our office, one thing I identified, you know, during the campaign was, and found out during the campaign actually, is there are so many people that think all we do is write tickets or take people to jail, and that's just not the truth. And one of my goals for this term as sheriff, and we're well on our way, is being more outward facing with, you know, the people that we serve on what we are working on and just what we do. And some of those things, I spoke about the victim service unit that we just recently added. Another thing that's really new to our office that we utilize quite frequently is a drone team. And we now have 2 drones. We have 4 drone operators, and we've put the drones in action for missing people from, for investigating and taking pictures from traffic accidents, looking for people who run after a traffic stop. Several reasons. Recently, our search and rescue team, which is another division or a unit that we have within the office, utilized the drone to help locate a 37-year-old missing man from Tuscola County.
Wow.
But so we have those 2 things. We have a dive and rescue team, which is comprised of sheriff's office employees, some of our reserve deputies, as well as some officers from the Midland Police Department. We have a SWAT team that we also share that service with the city police. There's members of the county sheriff's office as well as the Midland Police Department on that team. So those are just a few of the things that we have at the office, and we're looking at other ideas and other ways to become more efficient and provide even more service in a cost-effective manner to the people that we serve.
It appears there's a lot of interconnectivity between the sheriff's office and the city police. Is that the case?
Yes.
And is that just because of the size of our community, or it's hard to imagine a county dive rescue team? You can't be doing that many dives in the county of Midland in a year,
Well,
right?
unfortunately, we don't have lakes right now,
Right.
but we do have rivers, and it's not just those bodies of water. Our dive team has assisted in searching for evidence in ponds.
Wow.
We've had unfortunate situations of drownings in ponds where the dive team is activated. So they're used more than you think. They're part of a team in southern Michigan as well, and sometimes go out of county to assist with search and rescue scenarios and things of that sort. So, but to answer your question, we're unique in Midland County from a police perspective or a law enforcement perspective because we share a building with the Midland Police Department, the law enforcement center. You find most sheriff's offices operate fully out of their jail or the building where the jail is. You'll find the jail, and then there'll be office space and then a space for the road patrol. And, here in Midland, we have the law enforcement center as well as the jail. But so I think that's what makes us really unique. And, the relationships that have been formed, between our deputies and the Midland police officers and, our shared services and working together. I mean, we have shared briefing at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day. The county's on one side, the Midland Police Department is on the other side, so we're constantly sharing information, because people travel through the city to get out in the county and vice versa. So we are unique in that perspective because you don't see that everywhere, where people play, they don't play nice in each other's sandbox. So we're fortunate, though, in that regard.
That seems very interesting.
Especially when it comes to the shared services.
Yeah. So every day, twice a day, the city police and the county sheriffs are huddling together, and they're doing briefings for the day's activities, ongoing cases, things to look out for, APBs, all that different stuff.
Yes.
Who leads that? Do you take turns or?
No. So we do take turns. The city will share their information, and it's led by they have 2 sergeants per shift, and it's generally led by the sergeants. And then for the county side, we have a sergeant and a lieutenant on every shift, and it's led by the lieutenant. And if he's gone, then it'll be the sergeant. And it's exactly that. It's just knowledge is power, right? So this is what we're seeing. This is what we're working on. This is what we got going on. Things of that sort. It is, by the very nature of the word briefing, a briefing.
So I assume from a management standpoint, every day there's somebody in charge of allocating resources across the landmass. You do different quadrants, I assume, and different patrols assigned to different quadrants. Is that kind of how it works on the county side, or is it more everybody kind of stays at home base and goes out as needed?
Yeah, the latter.
Is it?
Yeah, it's we have 16 townships in the county, and we're it for other than the Midland Police Department. Coleman does have a police department, but the townships do not have their own police force.
Yeah.
So we are the law enforcement service for those 16 townships. There is a state police post down the road, and troopers do come over and assist us when they can, but they're tied up and busy with Bay County and Saginaw County as well. So we're it for those 16 townships. And, the day is whatever the guys decide to do. If they're not going call to call, where they go and do their proactive patrols is totally up to them. They tend, I think, to gravitate to where there's more traffic and more stuff going on. I don't think it's a secret that people see a lot of patrol cars on M20, see a lot of patrol cars on US 10, just because the very nature of, how many people are on those roads versus,
Sure.
some dirt road out in Jasper Township, in the middle of the day. So, but they can patrol wherever they wish.
Do these volunteer deputies, do they patrol as well?
No.
No.
They will. So we have a reserve program. We currently have 22 members of the reserves. They meet once a month. Some reserves do like to jump in a patrol car and do a ride along. Others will work different events like the fair. We've started attending township meetings when warranted. Some of those are getting a little bit heated nowadays. So they'll do that. They provide security at different churches at times, but that is another specialty unit within our office. So,
did I hear that you changed your uniforms?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, those are slick.
Yeah, thanks. So that was when I talk about a new sheriff wanting to put his fingerprints on the place.
Yeah.
This was one of the things that I wanted to do is try to modernize us a little bit. The brown, historically, you see sheriff's deputies, at least in Michigan, wearing brown, but now it's not just the Midland County Sheriff's Office. There's many, many sheriff's offices across the state that have changed up their uniforms. Unlike the state police that no matter if you are pulled over by a trooper in the UP or Detroit, same uniform.
Blue.
Yeah, the sheriffs, it's up to them. We don't have a mandate in the state that a sheriff's office has to have a certain uniform. So, I think so far we now officially have our entire road patrol all in the new black uniforms, black exterior carriers. They seem pretty excited about it. They're a little bit better material. I think breathe a little bit better, a little more comfort.
I think it makes a big difference when a rebrand can really change a culture. I've done it a few times in business where you're changing a logo or changing a color scheme, or even something as simple as changing the folders that we use, the way they look. It can reinvigorate the group, the crowd to get in the game and get focused and follow a new direction or the next direction, if you will. And so I think that was a strong initial move for a new leader to come in and say, hey, let's modernize how we look. How we look impacts how we feel impacts how we operate. Yeah. And it's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked about, the championship culture mentality. It's something I campaigned on and I believe in, if you have strong morale, strong culture, to your point, I think you put out a better product. And again, our product is the service that we provide to, the people that we represent in this county, residents and non-residents. So I do agree with that. Like I said, it's, people might be lying to my face, but I think it's went over pretty well so far, the change with the uniforms, and got some different hats and busted out some new duty belts actually today. So
new gear.
Some new gear. We had budgeted for it, and the money was there. So, this was no additional new expense to the taxpayers or anything like that. It was all done within our budget. So
now that you're rebranded, you got the guys, got the new equipment, and they're feeling good. They're out there doing their thing. What are some of the challenges that the Sheriff's Department is facing currently in this first year of your term?
I don't think this is necessarily just a Midland County Sheriff's Office issue. Staffing is always going to be a problem with law enforcement, and I think that could probably be a nationwide issue, by the very nature of how we're funded. And we're not immune to that. We could always use more. Our busiest day out on the road patrol, you take a hot summer day in July and, we're call to call, and we could easily stand to have 10, 12 people out working on the road. And then our slowest day, you take a 10 below zero February, winter night when nothing's going on, and you could probably get away with just a couple. So where is that? Where's the balance? Where's the sweet spot for the numbers? So, that's a challenge that we face. But, again, by the very nature of how we're funded, we're not for profit. So it's not like, okay, we can go out and write a bunch more tickets and, you know, arrest a bunch more people to bring in a whole bunch of income to, you know, get more staff. It just doesn't work that way. So, and then in addition to that, you know, we don't see as many applicants as we used to. You know, when I hired in 20 years ago, it'd be nothing to have 100 people sit for a test. And now we're lucky to get 10 or 15 people apply for a job. So
Why do you think that is?
Um,
Just because of all the nationwide protests and the changing of view of law enforcement?
I think that's a big part of it is, you know, the shift in, you know, some of the big issues that occurred nationally and the black eye that law enforcement has taken for some incidents that occurred.
You know, I've never heard of an incident like that occurring locally, though. At least I've never heard of one. I'm sure there's always some kind of something going on.
Yeah, I mean, Midland is we're
bad.
not immune to our, you know, we have our problems, and you know, there's issues every now and then. But one thing that I was in a meeting earlier this morning, and you know, in ending the meeting, I told these folks that one thing that I've always felt in my career in law enforcement here is support from this community, and I think Midland values a safe, you know, being a safe place to work and live and raise a family and all that. And in order to have that, you need to have strong police department, strong sheriff's office, you know, a presence, a proactive presence. And I think we've always had that. So, but we're not, you know, we're not immune from having issues every now and then. And, you know, if they happen, you deal with them. And, you know, I know for me, just starting out in this term as sheriff, I will always be honest. You know, if we screw up, I'll admit we screwed up and we'll deal with it. And but at the same time, you know, our staff, and especially the people that we serve need to understand that we have really good people. We have really good employees who are members of this community, who are husbands and wives and fathers and mothers, and we want what you all want, which is a really, you know, safe, great place to live and raise our families. So,
you know, yesterday I was in a closing at my office, and we had a client that was unhappy about something, and I walked into the closing room to diffuse the situation a little bit, and I had the client and I had my title closer having a hard time, and I was trying to balance my loyalty between my employees and my clients. And so for you, I imagine it must be tough to balance your loyalty to your staff with your need to be of service to the community when there's a clash or a conflict. It's not easy to balance that.
No, and fortunately, there's been a couple issues so far this year, nothing major.
Good.
You know, but my wife always says, you know, my job is for you to understand what I'm saying, not for you necessarily to like what I'm saying.
Sure.
So as long as you're, you know, upfront, honest, you know, with people, then, you know, I hope that I have their respect, and if I don't have it, will eventually earn the respect of my staff, even though there are going to be times that we disagree. But and that's okay.
Let's talk about some of the fun parts of the job, because there's a lot of hard parts, but there's some fun parts too.
Sure.
What is it like to be on the sheriff's department on a day-to-day basis? What are some of the happy moments that you get to be a part of?
I mean, that's a good question, and not everything that we deal with is bad, you know, and that's a big reason that I wanted to sit down and do this with you, is to put it out there and let people know, look, we're not just arresting people and writing tickets. We do get involved, you know, with good things. The one thing that jumps out to me with that question is our school resource officers and the impact that they have, not only in helping secure and make sure our schools are safe, but the relationships that they build with kids, you know, throughout all the years that they spend there. Now, we do have a new resource officer out in Coleman because of a retirement. So he's 4 months into his stint out in Coleman, so he's going to, you know, take him some time to develop those relationships. But in Bullet Creek District and Meridian District, both of those deputies have been there for years, and everybody knows Deputy Jody and everybody knows Deputy Jason, and the relationships that they've developed with those kids and giving those kids, someone that they can trust and talk to, I was never a school resource officer, but I know they find it very rewarding. I mean, they go to sports games. There's a video circulating somewhere of Deputy Brandt with pom-poms at a Bullet Creek football game last year. Maybe we'll find that and share it. But, so that's something good that we do that has, such a great purpose. I would love to see, a world or a situation to where we had a resource officer in every school across this country. You and I talked about that before.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that again.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Is it infeasible financially, or how do you do it?
I mean,
You can't.
for our budget, we certainly couldn't.
Yeah.
Especially when you get like the Bullet Creek district. They have different buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout their school district, that they're not all on one central campus like Meridian is. So we couldn't do it within our budget. I mean, could you ask taxpayers for more money? Yeah, but at what point in time, are people taxed enough?
Mm-hmm.
And you could morph this question into talking about the federal government finances,
Right.
and which I know nothing about. But when you see some of these numbers that we see, yeah, I mean, I would think it'd be a drop in the bucket for,
Some
Congress
grants,
to do something and say, we're not doing this anymore. Every school is going to have one. And we'd probably never even, feel the effect of it. So do I think it could be done? Sure. Do I think it can be done at the local level? No, I don't.
No chance.
It'd be hard.
I'm learning a lot about the local budgeting process and taxes because I interviewed, the superintendent of schools the other day
Okay.
about the bond proposal and trying to get my head around the budget. It's, how the budget's allocated between police and fire, rescue, and schools, and all the different elements of the budget for the city and the county that it takes to operate these entities. And nobody likes high taxes. Nobody likes more taxes. So there's always a balance between trying to fulfill all the services that you want to provide without taxing too much to
Right.
the point where it's unsustainable.
Right.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. And we're, fortunate in Midland. I think we're fiscally responsible at the county level. That's not my niche. We work within the budget that they approve, the commissioners approve for our office, but I think Midland overall is definitely fiscally responsible in that regard.
First 4 months have gone well.
Yes, it took a month or so to get a routine, like what time to get in, and I was a little out of sorts there for a little bit of figuring out what my routine was, but now I feel that I'm definitely settled in and focused, and again got the undersheriff in place, which was a big task and something that was important for the efficiency of the office, and now it's away we go, and try to be as efficient and safe and fiscally responsible as we possibly can.
What's the next thing you're going to tackle?
Well, I just this week finalized a grant submission. We're trying to purchase a utility task vehicle, or a UTV. We have 43,000 acres of state land in Midland County, and we have limited means of
Traversing.
yeah, good word, traversing it. And several complaints over the years, ranging from, we had a terrible accident where a young lady ended up having to get her leg amputated, to a dementia patient walking away and getting lost in the woods. And we've just found over the years, as people have become more active and involved in these areas, we have such limited means for getting out there, that we identified that as being a shortfall, and so we're attacking some grant opportunities, and we'll see how that goes. And then the jail, which Captain Droscher will talk about here in a little bit. Staffing at the jail is a challenge, and for some of the reasons, like I said before, So that's high on my list of priorities as well, is to see if we can get our arms around that problem and get to a level where we're comfortable and safe, and people aren't getting burned out from having to work tons of overtime and things of that sort. So, but, the main thing, I can narrow it down to this. The main thing is people, and it's the people in the office, and it's the people that we serve. And I think as long as I keep my focus on that and, taking care of my staff and the people at the sheriff's office, then the product that we put out to the people we serve is better. And I mean, I know it's not that simple, but to me it is that simple.
Keeping the main thing,
Keeping the main thing, which is people. Yep.
Sheriff, thanks for being on the Talk Midland podcast. Next, we're going to fill the chair with Captain Jeff DeRocher, in charge of the jail.
Correct.
And go through some of the challenges and the logistics of operating the jail in Midland.
You got it.
Thanks,
Logan.
Thank you. Okay, part 2 of the interview. I have Captain Jeff DeRocher, the jail administrator for the Midland County Jail. And for those of you who don't know where that is, it's off a Bay City Road, right? Kind of back off a side road. Luckily, I've never been there. Hopefully, we'll keep it that way. But can you take us through the jail to tell us a little bit more about the jail and also some of the programs that the jail provides to the inmates as well?
So correct. We're located on Fast Ice Drive, kind of for a landmark right behind Costco. We're a 274 bed facility. Right now our population's right around 200. We run 24/7, 365. We're always open. Christmas morning we're there. My staff is there. The new jail, it's not so new anymore, but it's the new facility was opened in 2009. So we've been out there ever since late 2009. Prior to that, the county jail was downtown, adjoined to the courthouse. Anybody that goes to prison comes through the local jail. So a lot of people have preconceived notions about what corrections and what a jail is. So they don't think we house like the bad guys from that you might see in prison. But everybody that goes to prison starts out in a county jail, and that's nationwide. We house everything from people that are behind on their child support to murderers, or those accused of murder. So we house the gamut. We also house federal inmates on behalf of the United States Marshal Service. That's a way for us for the county to offset the cost of running the jail. And the marshals pay Midland County a daily rate for each inmate that we house for them. As far as programs go, we have the PA 511 program. That's a drug and alcohol education class. They also do some parenting classes, anger management. We have high school and GED completion. We partner with ETC on that. We have a medication-assisted treatment program that's facilitated by our nursing contractors and other community resources.
That's detox, helping detox?
Well, it's more of a continuance or the beginning of a medication-assisted treatment. So for those that might suffer from substance use disorder, they're prescribed medications in a controlled setting to help them cope with their addiction. So so we continue that, or there's folks that can help get that started in certain situations.
I had no idea the jail administers so many programs.
I don't have my fingers involved in each of those. It would be completely overwhelming. So in my role as the jail administrator, we just facilitate those. And we, the sheriff kind of gives a stamp of approval and says, yes, we want this program, or the county has a grant that helps with the PA 511 program. And all right, we're going to do this program. And I just provide I just help facilitate the program so that the proctors for PA 511 can do their job, or the doctor can meet with folks that need to participate in the MAP program.
So if I was to get arrested by the city police for something, would they take me straight to the county jail, or would there be a different stop on the way?
No, you would come right to Midland County Jail.
So you'd be processed there, your fingerprints taken, things like that. Is it like that on TV? Is it that kind of how it is?
Yep, it's digital fingerprints these days. So it's just touching your fingers to a scanner. It's pretty neat stuff. It's high speed, low drag. So kind of neat stuff. We do take mug shots. So that's kind of cliche. But we try to make it user friendly. We have like an open intake area. So say you were arrested for a minor offense. Jail can be traumatic. A lot of people that come to jail, they're having the worst day of their life already.
Yeah.
And we don't want to contribute that to that. So we try to make it as user friendly as possible. I mean, it is still jail. I mean, that's the downside of my job is that no matter what, it's still jail. Nobody wants to be there, right? So it can. We just try to make it less
Traumatic.
Traumatic. I guess I was looking for a better word, but maybe. Yeah, that's the word.
Nobody who is going to jail or has a day like that is thinking about the administrators of the jail, how they're feeling. But those are real people too.
Absolutely.
And you are serving the people that you're arresting, which is very there's a dichotomy there that's hard to balance. But the truth of the matter is, these are the citizens of the county for the most part. They're in trouble, so they have to go through the administrative process. But it doesn't have to be like Sons of Anarchy, where things are crazy and there's still a service element to that. And I've felt that I've gone into the county building before, the law enforcement building. There's an aura of service across the board, which I think is great. But okay, so I get arrested, I come in, I'm intaken, then I go into a jail cell. Am I in a general population area? Am I on my own?
Most people that come to jail are going to leave within 24 or 36 hours
Because they're going to get a bail hearing?
Yes.
Is that how it works?
Yep.
So they have to call their attorney, and then there's some kind of hearing set, and they're moved to a courthouse, or do they do that right from the jail?
We have remote capabilities, so we can do Zoom hearings. We have another method for conducting hearings, and we've been very proactive on that. We've had that even prior to moving to the new facility. We had the ability to do conduct remote court hearings.
Is that something you're entitled to as a inmate, or how does that work?
Yeah, you would be entitled to an arraignment
within a certain period of time.
Within a certain.
Is that a statutory amount of time? Or a day or two? What is it average? I'd say.
Help me out, Sheriff. 48 hours.
Okay, so 48 hours.
Yeah.
So if you get arrested within 48 hours, you're arraigned. You have an appearance before a judge, probably through a Zoom or a teleconference scenario, and the judge decides whether you can be released on bail.
Yep. Okay. That's solely their discretion.
Okay, so obviously if you're released on bail, then you have to stay close and you have to sign a bunch of papers. Is that bond? Is there bond associated with that?
In many cases, some of the more minor offenses, the judges can set an interim bond so that you do not necessarily have to be arraigned before release. You can just pay that interim bond, and it helps expedite people getting out of jail that probably don't need to be there.
Non-violent scenarios where they missed a child support payment or something like that, where it's not a threat to the community.
Yes. Yep.
What if you are a threat to the community? You're arrested for murder. You're not getting out on bail, or you might be, but if the judge decides you're not getting out on bail, where do you go next?
Typically, you'll be screened by nursing. If there's any flags, we ask a lot of questions on intake. Mental health, physical health. If anything's flagged, we'll probably have you screened by nursing prior to moving to general population.
Oh.
If not, there's some room within the law that you have to have a health screening within 2 weeks. But a lot of times that's happening prior to that 2 week time frame. Very healthy young folks might see like a health screening within 10 days. Health screening, a brief intake process with the staff. They're kind of explain how everything works in the jail, and then explain where folks can find our rule book. How to contact staff in case of emergency, and just kind of give them a brief intro to jail, and then we'll assign them based on everybody that gets moved to general population is classified using some objective criteria that, and then assigned to a housing unit. And
so if you're stuck there for a while because you got in trouble, when can you start accessing these programs? Right away? Or does it
depends.
Is it privilege based?
Yeah, we have so our housing units are arranged to be more privileged and to less privileged. Again, it sounds so bad, but to less privileged based on classification. So again, a very nonviolent offense might see those programs right away. Somebody that classifies as like a medium or a medium high security classification, they might have to wait until they're in one of those other housing units to attend programs.
What are the biggest challenges that the jail faces with managing over 200 inmates at once?
As the sheriff mentioned, staffing, we could be a little bit better. Right now we have 4 vacant part-time positions. Again, what the sheriff said, sometimes we have a good day because we have a robust staffing. That winter day in February that he spoke about, it's the same for us. Nobody's on vacation, everybody's at work, and we have a good day. The opposite is in the summer or spring break, everybody's just getting back from spring break right now. It can be a little difficult to staff without killing everybody with overtime. So, and we get saturated at times with our workload. Sometimes we're very idle and we're doing just the fundamentals that we have to do to get through the day. Other days we can barely keep our head above water with the workload, because we work with obviously our courts, fresh arrests coming in. The U.S. Marshals contribute to our workload, and then all the other entities that come in, attorneys that come in, clergy that come in, CMH, CPS, all these people come in to see and provide services to inmates, and that contributes to our workload as well.
So not only do you have to house, feed, and protect 200 inmates, but you're constantly managing all these service providers, attorneys, CPS, mental health people, all these transactions coming in and out. You have to bring the inmates in. You have to make sure they're safe. You have to clear the other side. You have to put them in a room. You have to document all those things. You have to monitor and manage all those things inside of the normal things like breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Sure.
Shower time, outdoor time, whatever the other daily elements of running a jail are. That's a lot going on.
It is a lot going on. And I try to be a advocate for our inmates and an advocate for our staff. I draw the analogy that running a jail is not everybody. Life is about balance, right? But when you talk about running a jail, we don't have seesaw balance. One side versus the other. We have played on a stick balance. I'm sorry, I'm bumping your mic here. We have played on a stick balance.
Yeah,
and that can be very difficult because some of the things that the sheriff mentioned, like maintaining a budget and being conscious of being the cliche I always use is being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. we don't overspend, but we want to provide good services to the inmates. We want to be able to do all the things that I just mentioned and accommodate all those people that need to provide services to our inmates, but we have to balance that with security and safety. We like happy inmates. We want to have happy inmates, but sometimes they don't understand everything we do is for a reason, and that can conflict with their wants oftentimes.
You've been the jail administrator since 2017?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody ever escaped?
Not since I've been jail administrator. When I was the assistant jail administrator, we had one escape from a transport vehicle. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's always a popular question.
I had to ask at least once.
He was quickly apprehended.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of the reason they moved the jail into that location was it's a little bit more remote, a little bit harder to get away if you were somehow able to scale a fence or something, which almost seems impossible to even be able to execute that idea. But there's not a lot of chance you're getting away quick. You're probably going to be in trouble. So that's good. So in the last 8 years or so, not a lot of drama.
We have. I like to say that we're not exempt from the problems that every jail in the state and country has. People try to smuggle things into jail. People have mental health crises while they're in jail. People have medical needs while they're in jail. Inmates don't get along, and so we're not exempt from those issues. It's just the scale. Obviously a 1,500 bed jail, they're going to have the same problems that we do, just probably a lot more of them. I have a fantastic staff. The staff I have working in the jail are awesome people. They're awesome human beings. They work hard. They want to be there. They've found their niche. Many of them have found their niche. They're not using their time at the jail to move on to a different career field. There's a few that they're in the fledgling stages of their career, younger adults, but a lot of people that I have there, they really do want to be there, and they see the benefits of working in the jail. They form relationships with the inmates.
Yeah, they do a good job. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a hard job. I don't know how they do it, but
it's a very difficult job.
It's a passionate job. You have to be passionate about that to do the job like that year after year. When you go through the Citizens Academy, does it run through the jail? Do you get to visit the jail and learn more about it?
Yes. Yep. So one night of the Citizens Academy is the county night. So even though the Citizens Academy is ran by the city, we have the county night. We have usually have a judge there, usually a prosecutor, the administrator controllers there, and we present how county government works as compared to city government, and then I speak briefly about the jail, and we have a jail tour.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Captain, thank you for being on the Talk Midland podcast as well.
Thank you.